Stephen Hawking is known as a brilliant intellectual. However, his comments about faith are raising questions about his wisdom. The 69-year-old scientist suffers from a form of muscular dystrophy. In response to a question on whether he is afraid to die, Hawking said, quote, "There is no heaven. That is a fairy story for people afraid of the dark."
When it comes to this latest statement, I have far better grounds for believing in life after death, as it were, that my life goes on beyond the grave, than I do for believing in M theory, Stephen Hawking's latest candidate theory of everything, physical theory of everything, for which in fact there is no evidence, but there is very strong evidence for the resurrection.
Science measures things that are visible, that are measurable, and because it does, it starts to assume that that's all that exists.
Roughly 3/4 of Americans believe heaven is real. 12-year-old Colton Burpo of Nebraska has also been making headlines recently after saying that he went there.
I got to see Jesus and two of the apostles, Peter and John.
At age 4, when nearing death, Colton underwent emergency surgery. His father says when his son came to, he knew things that he'd never been told, including describing his sister whom his mother had miscarried. In response to Hawking's theory,
I'll say that I can believe what I can believe, and if you don't believe it, okay.
The man's a genius in his own right, but how he can actually say that there is no heaven or no higher power as such, then he's a fool, really, isn't he?
Reverend Dr. Rodney Holder is calling on Christians to pray for Hawking.
A colleague of mine just now, John Lennox, said, well, the response to Stephen Hawking is that atheism is invented for those who are afraid of the light. It's a fairy story for those who are afraid of the light. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. And yet Jesus is the light of the world, and I think that's what Stephen Hawking needs to recognize.
Mark Martin, CBN News.